So this is Instagram for Artists. I put it together because I put out a poll. Some of you might know about this, some of you might not. But I put out a poll to people in my group and in other groups saying, you know, what was it that you would like to learn the most about? And of all those things, I basically, people were like, I want to see a tour of Starry Night Retreat, which I totally understand, except if I've seen any of the posts lately, we're still renovating a couple kitchens, so I feel really insecure giving you guys a full tour just yet. I literally have a porcelain sink sitting in the yard, in the courtyard right now, waiting to be put into a countertop. So once that stuff is in, probably a week or two, we're going to do a tour of that. But up until now, what I really was looking for is like what kind of value I could give you guys to take away, whether, you know, it's, I mean, it'd be nice to see the residency and it would be really nice to not see that sink in the courtyard. But the most important thing is like really getting some tools to kind of get ahead and stay making artwork and make a living and a life as an artist. So why the hell should you listen to me? And that's a really great question. I just want to give you guys kind of a smattering. This are actually these are old. There's been a lot more like Vogue Italia and a few more universities and places in Bulgaria and whatever. But basically, I've spoken at a lot of places. I've been on panels at a lot of these places. I've shown my own work in some of these galleries and forums and event spaces. And I've gotten my own grants and also been on panels to give away grants in all of these places. So as a person who is, you know, trying to help artists in whatever way I can and also help myself as an artist, this is kind of a little smattering of where I've been. So I just want to let you guys know I'm not like just completely flying by the seat of my pants. I have been doing this for a long time, and I hope that what I can bring you and what me and my whole team has put together can really help you. So now this is not just the efforts of kind of old crusty me, but also my very young and wonderful and tech savvy team. So I just want to give a shout out to you guys too. You've been freaking amazing. So without further ado, let's see, what is the purpose of using Instagram as an artist? And really the biggest main things are it'll create your audience, because your geographic region is one thing, but you know, I realized that working in Seattle and making work in Seattle or making work in New Mexico, I was gonna at best become just a geographically known artist. And I wanted to I wanted my work to reach more people than that. So I think Instagram can really help with that a lot. It'll also help you beyond like your one-on-one like interactions. So if you end up having a lot of, you know, one-on-one times with people, what really helps is getting photographs of things to put it out on the internet and leverage that. So you have more than just what you can do in front of a person. It also just creates more avenues of interest, and we'll get into that. Something about, you know, you don't have to be the most everything's about me, you know, narcissistic artist in the world, and like, but there are a few things that you can do to give people more insight into the really cool perspective that you have as a culture creator. And culture creators are really interesting. I mean, I think there's kind of a spectrum of people, not to derail too hard here, but I have these wonderful, wonderful members of my family, my cousins, and I adore them. And when we get together, a lot of times what we talk about is like, what's interesting to us. And so they'll say, well, I can't wait until this car comes out. I really want to buy this car, or this thing is out there. And they're looking out as consumers. And I'm looking out as like, I can't wait to make this thing. That's what's interesting to me. And we both are interested in each other and love each other. But there's a spectrum there between being a creator and a consumer. And artists fall on the creator side, and I just find that more interesting in general. So leveraging your presence in the world as a creator, I think, is a really important thing to give some real attention to. And that's why I wanted to poll you guys and put something together that was concrete. So aside from that, you can have more people to invite to your shows. You can pack your shows with more people than usual, just meaning like not just your friends, but hopefully a lot of strangers, people that you need to go and meet to expand your network and your connections. And then hopefully that just leverages, you know, the broader your reach, the more opportunities, the more new ways of doing it by looking online and taking in what other people are doing. And in the end, selling more work and having more, you know, more of a reach, because you're not making your work just for you, you're making your work for the world. So that's really the point of this. So I wanted to give you guys just some simple examples of people that are doing it well. And I polled our team and I said, hey, who do you think does it well? So these are some of the answers that we got. And Allie Willis has been doing a really great job, and you're going to find, you guys, that I say what's on these slides because I have found we've had some people not really want to watch a video, but they listen to our what we put out in their studio. So I'm going to say this stuff out loud, most of it. But she does a really great job of keeping a theme and having it clean, light pictures. She also mixes up her content from finished pieces to works in progress. And you can see like her hand in one of those images. It shows a lot more about like where she works and what her process is like. Oops, did we go too far? No. So now we're at NC Winter's art. So NC Winter's, his stuff is really unique. And he especially, the characters that he paints, he always posts amazing quality content, which shows how hard he's working at what he's making. So he does a lot of trending posts and things like the year in review 2015 best 9, stuff that people and other artists are looking up on Instagram under that hashtag, which then brings in more traffic. And we'll talk about that in depth a little bit later. I mean, hashtagging is fun, but there can be a real strategy behind it. Then there's Sam Larson. He posts a lot of cool sketches and drawings, and he gets a lot of reposts and things that have quotes in them because people want to screenshot it and repost it on their own Instagram. So that's a really great way to get more reach. But one thing you want to remember is to always make sure either to sign your piece or to put your Instagram handle in it so you can get credit and you can get exposure. And then that natural, organic, viral reach can really go further and continue to come back to you. So as you can see, 357,000 followers, he's doing something right. And that's a big part of it. This person has significantly fewer followers, just 11.2, but still, did I just say that? Just 11.2 thousand followers. That's still pretty significant reach for just, an artist who's doing this all by herself. This isn't the result of anybody who has a big agent or a marketing firm behind them, which is pretty cool. So she uses her Instagram as her art and personal account, which is interesting. A lot of people don't do that. So it's a good mix of her life and her art. I think that still needs to be pretty heavily curated to show a consistency, but she does a really good job of it. She happens to paint a lot of birds and wildlife, and she posts a lot of works in progress as well. And she also has a post of herself standing in front of her work, so it gives a sense of scale. As you can see in that bottom middle image, that image would not hold the same gravity at all if it didn't have somebody standing in front of it. So 5 basic things to learn from watching other artists on Instagram. And let's just see, just making sure I'm not missing any questions. All right, so it looks like you guys are taking care of that. Cool. So if you can't see the chat box, again, just go ahead and post your questions right into that feed, and we'll be answering them. So anyway, 5 things to learn from watching other artists, motivating you to keep working and creating. It's really easy to get stuck into a vacuum, and I think it is really important, even if you're just going to be kind of watching for a while and getting your footing, to be out there looking specifically at other artists that are going to keep you motivated. Networking, if you follow them, connect with them and expand your network that way. It's really, really helpful. You can also checking out who they follow so you can see who follows them and find more artists and people like them, because sometimes birds of a feather, that's a really great way to just kind of find more and more and more people that are just like-minded or aesthetically like-minded. And the people who like their stuff, if you like their stuff, they might like your stuff. So it's all just kind of staying in that mix. A lot of the artists have a lot of followers and they're not going to necessarily follow you back. And don't take it personally. I mean, I used to be like, what? You just, and they didn't do that. And it's not worth it at all. But what we can do is just comment on their pictures, and the people that like the person's art will see your account and they'll possibly check you out. So there's leverage in commenting. Every place someone sees your handle, especially if you've got art in the handle, really can help people know, oh, I'm going to find an artist at the end of that little rainbow. I should click there. So be at the end of someone's rainbow. Gaining marketing ideas. You can learn how to do giveaways and contests and what brands they might want to work with and how to post sale posts, how much attention they get for it, likes and comments, stuff like that. So watching how other people do it, like one of our examples before, is a great way to find out how to do it yourself, because there are some artists that are doing really well with giveaways and whatnot, and we'll get into that a little bit further in a minute. So what exactly should you be posting and the why behind it? I mean, I understand that you wouldn't necessarily just be like, okay, great. I mean, you have to have some strategy and some kind of why behind it. Hang on, I need some water. Oh my God. Oh, I feel much better. Thanks, guys. So Branding is a big part of it. So there's like kind of a few pillars to this whole strategy. What name do you use on your other social media accounts? It's important to stick to the same name whenever possible so that people can find you easily by searching. So if you can, hit all of it at once and make sure it's all your name art or whatever, art your name or whatever you feel comfortable with, even if it doesn't say art in it, even if it's just consistent, people know you're always going to have that handle. It can really help. I mean, Dan Savage, the sex advice columnist, his Twitter handle is fake Dan Savage because he went to get it and someone was like, I'm Dan Savage. And he's like, oh, and it was actually I think it was someone who was like trying to just mess with him. So he just decided to be fake Dan Savage. But now, you know, I remember it. People remember it because he references it. So, let's see, what else? So consider your profile picture and your avatar. Do you want your photo, you definitely want your photo to reflect your brand and make sure it looks professional, but are you thinking it through? Are you intentionally alluring, cheery, sad with your avatar and your profile picture? Because you want that to be some kind of a thumbnail, even if your work is very broad and diverse. That can really help you. So also, if you use a picture of yourself, let it be a reflection of your art. So you could alternatively use an image of your artwork as your avatar if it's a piece that you kind of feel like is a good like flagship piece or something. But if you don't have that and you want to put yourself, you might consider like that other artist said, standing in front of your work as a picture of you. So even if your artwork's just the background, it can really help. And let your art be a separate account from your personal Instagram. I know that we just showed you one example of someone who blends them, and that's a lot to consider. I kind of think it's nice to have a place where just your friends go, and maybe it's even private, but the public stuff, you know, you don't want to look like a food pornographer to a potential collector. You know, no one who wants to buy your artwork needs to know that you and your parents went to the Bahamas when you were 19 years old. You know, it just doesn't need to happen. I mean, depending how old you are, maybe that would have never, ever happened on Instagram. It wouldn't have for me, but maybe for you. Also, have faith in what you already do. So you don't have to tailor your art style to what you think people are looking for. Just do what you do, and Instagram is going to help find the community that wants to find you. So, you know, using some of these tools, I think the community that you're looking for is going to be able to find you, and they're looking for you too. So friends, definitely follow your friends and follow artists that you admire, because, you know, you never know who's going to follow you back or be looking through and then kind of just fall down a rabbit hole and look for you and find you. You definitely want to engage them, like and comment on as many posts as possible. Don't seem like a stalker. I mean, definitely spread it out, but liking and commenting is great. And people, as long as you're not being creepy and talking about, like, you know, your inside your swimsuit parts, like pretty much people are pretty happy to get your comments and likes. I mean, that's just the way it is in social media. So, you know, within very basic parameters, I'd say like and comment as much as you can. And people who see your comments may click on your name and they may follow your Instagram as a result. So you do these things, you know, like wash, rinse, repeat, and this kind of gains you some traction. And also, I just want to insert here, if you don't want to be spending all your time on social media, which I understand, if that might not be your jam, it's not mine either, schedule time. Schedule time to do it, or check out some scheduling apps like Hootsuite or Buffer or even Edgar. They can be really helpful. Also, you want to start your posting your artwork specifically. So if your account is new, you probably have a portfolio of work from over the years, but don't post everything all at once. Start posting once per day, once every other day, something like that. It turns out that the best time to post is around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's because, especially on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, people are out of work, they're winding down, they have a little extra bandwidth in their mind, and they're usually checking new posts the most. So that's just some social media stats there. Okay, so, oh, that's great. Yunkin said, I'd love to see others' Instagram feeds. Would it be possible to post Instagram accounts here? Absolutely, for sure, post your Instagram accounts here. You guys should totally do some Insta swapping for sure. So anyway, let's see. Keep your post consistent. If you've posted portraits for 2 weeks and then you're post an abstract painting, don't be surprised if you lose followers or if you just lose that kind of engagement. It doesn't matter what kind of art you stick with. There's an audience for everything, but don't flip-flop too much because you'll have to rebuild your fan base. And as your work progresses from one genre to the next, it's fine to just give it some narrative. That's why Instagram lets you talk a little bit and type a little in there. So put that in there, you know, evolving past the old abstract, starting to do some more representational work. Really excited about this new face, whatever, just to give a little insight. So it doesn't have to be a processed picture. It can be a totally divergent picture from like previous photos that you've posted, but it does need to have a little bit of that discussion around it. And so once in a while, post a work in progress of your artwork that includes the materials you use, because people really love to see a prettily composed drawing with your favorite pen surrounding it, because they love to understand the scale and understand your process. I mean, you are going to be ideally selling your work to non-artists. And one of the things that non-artists are looking for in purchasing the object is the story behind it. I can't tell you how many buyers I've talked with and collectors who purchase work from some of our artists at, you know, in the exposure program, and they say, you know, could you tell me a little bit more about the piece? Or would the artist please write me just a 2 or 3 sentence, you know, notes that tells me a little bit about it? And they're going to treasure that almost as much as the actual artwork. So giving people the same, like, kind of the equal type of experience can really show that you know how to speak to your buyer. And that's important. Keep it professional. You can just use your iPhone to photograph your artwork, but when you do, be sure to get good lighting and crop out any background of the image. If you have the time, just throw it into Photoshop and fix it with contrast and levels. You can try it in the Instagram app itself, but you know, you may not be able to really get like something consistent that's actually going to work. So you might want to pick your favorite filter on Instagram, if you even use filters at all, and just stick to that one filter. It will make your profile look so much more clean and consistent. And if you start mixing it up, it's like, what is this, 70s retro? And then suddenly like hyper stark contrast, what's up? So it definitely shows that you understand how to present yourself and keep it, you know, consistent for them. So if someone also, again, someone buys a piece of yours, they're not going to suddenly have the most obscure, weird piece because you ended up totally going somewhere else. If you show that at least there's a general theme to your work, and not that you restrict yourself, but that you know and you have a consistent narrative that surrounds that and weaves all of it together, it definitely makes all of your pieces look like they belong to the whole, which is the whole of your art practice. Hashtag, for sure. Don't be afraid of hashtagging like crazy, because not everybody reads every hashtag, but that is how you can get searched. So you can always take advantage of popular hashtags that people are likely to search for, like art, art of the day, drawing, painting, sketch, doodle, but also try to be aware of any recently trending hashtags. You might feel embarrassed if your huge list of hashtags, but people will search for things like painting and discover your art as a result. So throwing that in there is not crazy. Plus, I mean, when I get to a hashtag, it's always in a different color. I don't have to read them all. I end up just reading the text when I see a post. And if I'm not looking for hashtags and I'm not looking to learn about hashtags, then I don't even read them. So it doesn't put anybody off to hashtag like crazy. Also, you can come up with your own hashtag for your art so that people can easily view entire collections of your art at a time. And that's a great way to make sure that, you know, your things that maybe like a body of work can be hashtagged as one thing. So yeah, I love that idea so much. It's really helpful as a searcher and as an organizer. Next is socialized. Oh, water, I love you so much. Instagram is a social media site, right? So once in a while, search for a hashtag yourself, scroll through and like any artwork that you appreciate, because it kind of just gets more community, and it throws your name as a liker, as a commenter, into a pool that you want to be swimming in, essentially. So every hashtag is considered, it's kind of like a pool, and that pool you want to swim in if it's relevant to your art and if you like what's in there. Don't be a lurker, just leave a comment. And I understand if you want to lurk for a little while if you're super shy, but seriously, you know, saying, I love this, it's not that hard, and no one's going to think you're trying to get their phone number. You know what I mean? Like, you're not like asking someone out on a date. You're just saying, I like that. So don't be shy. It's just social media. And if you just have a picture of your artwork as your avatar anyway, they're not even going to know really who you are. And even with a cool artist you don't already know but just discovered, feel free to comment. Many people will follow you back or otherwise discover you when they see your name there. So it really helps to just say something. Do you have a friend on Instagram who has a lot of followers? One thing to do is ask if they'll share your artwork on their page and tag you, known as on Instagram as featuring. Remember to return the favor once your page is doing well. So if you've asked for favors, and I talk about this quite a bit in our online program, the generosity economy, where you need to understand what you're bringing to the table with every interaction. So asking someone to do something for you, I would say, also remember and try to think first what you can do for them and bring with every ask and offer immediately. So return the favor when your page is doing well, but consider what you can do for them on another platform or in another way or in real life. And if you have followers on any other social media sites, make sure they know you have an Instagram account. It's pretty simple, but you know, I sent out 3 reminders for this live talk. Was it annoying to anybody? No, most people were like, oh, I'm glad that I know about that. So feel free to tell people more than once about your Instagram handle. Play the game. This may depend on what kind of artwork you do. So let's take the example of a portrait artist. Once in a while, they draw a celebrity they really admire whose aesthetic fits with their usual body of work. Then they tag them when they post the art. And this is a great way to get noticed and at least liked by that celebrity, which is huge. And it also comes from the reposting featuring of the artwork itself, which can result in more followers. So find a hook into other Instagram worlds. And I think that's really, really helpful. Also, try to plug your Instagram on other sites whenever possible. For example, you can participate on Reddit. Reddit gets drawn as a good sub list there, and where people can post photos of themselves for artists to draw. So if you do that kind of thing, it's a great way to just sort of immediately connect with someone else. And it's a great place to include a link to your Instagram. Excuse me. Do giveaways. For example, when you reach a certain number of followers, you know, give away some small piece of appreciation randomly. I think at random.com, is that what it is? You can throw in all the data and it'll just randomly select somebody for you. And it's always really interesting to see how many people want to jump in at just that lottery opportunity. You can also hold a contest or raffle and tell people to feature your Instagram handle. You'll give a piece of artwork to one random person who does it. And it's going to be another like super easy way to just kind of build momentum and build connection, because the more people really connect with you, the more they will refer you, the more they're going to like your stuff, and whoever's looking at their stuff is going to, it just feeds on itself. Again, it's like the generosity economy. And then keep posting. It's easy to fall behind with posting, but now that you've got a decent following, people are counting on you. So if you're just getting started and you have a lot of pieces, maybe count them all up and then figure out, if you posted one every 2 or 3 days, how many weeks or months does that get you out, so you can kind of get a backlog and start scheduling it. So just keep up with your posting schedule and followers will roll in with far less effort than when you were just starting up. Let's see. Oh, people are posting their Instagram handles. This is awesome. I'm so glad, you guys. What are the names of the other 2 scheduling apps you mentioned besides Edgar? Okay, Katrin, that's a great question. I mentioned Buffer. You can find it at, I think it's bufferapp.com, B-U-F-F-E-R app.com, or you can just Google Buffer, it'll come up. And there's one called Hootsuite, and I think both of them have free options. Edgar actually costs kind of pretty penny, but Hootsuite and Buffer do have small free options. They let you do a little bit of stuff ahead of time. And Cat Voice, you're like, I use Hootsuite. Totally. I used Hootsuite for forever, and we finally upgraded to Edgar, and I gotta say, mixed reviews. Let's see. Yunkin said, I use VSCO Cam app for the iPhone. Huh. Just try to stick with just 2 filters for consistency. That's interesting. I didn't know about that app, VSCO Cam app. That's pretty cool. Oh, and of course, other people already know about it, so I'm the last to know. So anyway, we're gonna keep posting. And then I really feel like this is super important. And I always try to end with this, like, start with what you've got. Start with where you are. This is literally, like on that picture on the right side, it's 2015, right basically in front of that little planter in the center there on that red gravel is sitting a sink right now waiting to go into one of the apartments. but it's been a lot of work just to get, you know, here. So you don't ever really know exactly what's going to come of what you're doing, but if you just keep, you know, following your nose and doing what feels right and doing it consistently and not stopping, you will get there. So in 10 years, you know, I went from this questionably interesting place to a home that's been a wonderful, wonderful hosting venue for artists for over 6 years now. So, and we've got the residency application, actually, the deadline's coming up soon, so you probably want to check that out. That's starrynightretreat.com. And you can always find our stuff for Starry Night Retreat and the residency. That's the residency program there under the residencies sub-tab. So start with what you've got. And in the end, I think there's no reason to do it alone. It's really easy as a studio artist to think that you've got to do this all yourself. I'm totally guilty of this. I'm sure so many of you are also guilty of this. Just doing this all by yourself because, you know, yes, there are limited resources and there's limited number of grant, you know, dollars to go around. And there aren't, you know, it's not like we're living in the Renaissance or, I don't know, a time where like artists were considered the incredible culture creators that we are. But, you know, let's just be clear here. The artists in these pictures, if we were like, you know, like Pompeii covered in you know, ash and lava right now, your average accountant did not do anything. They're not going to be they're not going to be pulling up the ledgers of business to find out what we were thinking about as a people, as a culture, as a race, as a human race. You know, if we are discovered later, what we are making now that can be preserved, that ends up by whatever chance is preserved, or even if it's not, it's reflective now. But that's what in the future people are going to be looking back on to say this is what they were about. So I know that there's not a lot of money out there for us. It's always gonna be hard, and it's not a sprint. It's definitely a marathon. But I think we are doing ourselves a disservice by not opening up everything that we know and helping each other. If you already got a grant from someplace, help somebody else who's going out for that grant the next year. You can't get it 2 years in a row anyway, and they need the help. Find a way to give back, and I think it will always serve you. But I believe in that because I took what I had, which was just this little crappy place in the middle of the desert, and kept working at it, and it really didn't flourish until I invited people in and said, hey, come join me and come be a part of this. And I have got to say, I don't just have shows in one region. I don't just have friends in one region. I don't just know artists and what's going on in cities in any one region. And I love it. And it doesn't have to be as hard as it seems. It seemed a lot harder before I started doing it than it actually is. So aside from that, I just want to let you guys know, this is kind of like, if this has been really valuable to you, I'm so glad, because I don't think you should have to do it by yourself. And there's going to be a re-recording of this, or recording available for later. So anybody who misses this, hello, I got your emails, and I'm totally going to make sure you can get this recording. So anyway, thanks a lot, you guys. I really appreciate you coming. Bye.